It's Latin for Spanish. Yeah?
How does he start the this what's it called, the year of Schuzi Morosi?
Yeah.
Today was talking my wife's z.א-ט. So Tzvi Ben Avam Eliezer. Okay, Heber. Halevi Heber. He was a big Talmud Chacham. Found out he started off in a literature yeshiva, then went over to Lubavitch yeshiva because in Purim, they parted in the literature yeshiva in Purim, and in the literature yeshiva's Purim is very plust. No, it's very plust.
Oh yeah.
The Wildkeit is like they sing radio songs and they make that's the Wildkeit. So he didn't like it, and someone told him go to see what's happening in Teres Emes. There's a Verbenger with a Mashpia there. He went over and it was Mamish Gans and Das, so he decided that's it, he's moving over to Teres Emes.
Who was it? And like they say, the rest is history.
My Shvez's father, Shvez Shmuel Heber. His father.
Like they say, the rest is history.
He started off. He was too young to go to Teres Emes. He started off in a different yeshiva, in Tel Aviv, and then he left because his brother was learning already in Teres Emes. His brother convinced him to come for blank, and he left and he joined Chabad, and that's it. He stayed, and today was it was a big Talmud Chacham. It happened to be a big Talmud Chacham, and
as big as his son.
so his son said a story today that his father begged him many times to go see the Chaim Shoel book because his father was very close. I guess he knew it was close.
Did you ever see the Rebbe?
Yeah, 100%. One second. And so, but my Shvel was learning by Rav Shlomo Chaim Kesselman as a Talmud, and Shlomo Chaim Kesselman didn't really appreciate Rav Chaim Shoel's book behavior because he was a very outspoken guy with a very big mouth. My father used to say a story that someone asked Rav Chaim Shoel's book. His mom used to use a look.
Nibble pen.
The nibble pen, different things. And so they asked him once. So
right.
Yeah. So they said the Mishnah says "Da mashetoshev lapikodos." That says the Mishnah in Birkov is "Da mashetoshev lapikodos." The Mishnah doesn't say what, because the Mishnah can't write. But I know. So that's what they say. So Mashvel went once. The Mishnah was very shmat. So Chaim Shelbrook met Mashvel, and the first question he asked Mashvel once he found out who he is, said, "Du kennst schon halb Shas." So basically, So, anyways, but he mentioned something. He was by the Rebbe for sure. He was by the Rebbe very often. He actually was a shliach of the Rebbe. In Tafshin Mem Beis, he went on to Shecht in Romania for a year, but he was just a shaykhid and that's it. For a year, 2 years, he was in Romania, and everyone told him he wanted to stop, and Rebbe told him, "I need a person with your visage, with your tzula, in Romania, big beard, Tzidashiyid, they had an up hat, Tzidashiyid." So he went back for another year, and that year, even though it was communist rule, he would walk around Romania with his full levush, because the Rebbe told him, okay. So years later, he left. That was only a job. He had to pay chayvus. He finished paying his chayvus. He went back to Israel, and once he was back in Israel, they asked him a couple years later, "We need you again." So he said, "I don't need chayvus. I don't have chayvus. I'm not in debt anymore. I'm not doing it for business. I'm doing it. If I'm doing it purely for shlichus. And if that's the case, I want to be the Rebbe shliach. So if the Rebbe wants me to go, I'll go." So Binyamin Garetzka wasn't involved with this thing. So Binyamin Garetzka said, "I speak to the Rebbe about it." And he came back, and Maskana said, "Yeah, the Rebbe says that he's a shliach." He went to Romania for like 6-7 years.
What, his family took his family there?
He was 65 years old at the time. Him and his wife. Went there. And one of the stories they mentioned years later, they had so his last name is Heber. In Hebrew, it's Hey Beis Reish. And in Hebrew, Yiddish, Hey Beis Reish. And they put a thing of a Beis Chabad on their door. The communists didn't like it. The Beis Chabad. They started complaining. I think that's how the story goes. So he basically told them that it doesn't say Beis Chabad. It says Beis is Casa, as a home, and it doesn't say Chabad. It says Beis Heber. So they let it go because it's Chabad Heber. It's like the oasis look on the similar. It's a Casa Heber. So I think that's how the story goes. If I didn't mess it up.
When did he pass away? What year?
He actually passed away while I was dating my wife. So that is 18 years ago, 19 years. Hanukkah is going to be 18 years. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, the Gemara that we hold in Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, Daf Zayin Amud Aleph, towards closer to the Mishnah, a couple lines before the Mishnah. What we said at the end here was that we finished off the Agadata. We said about looking at a rainbow, and we brought down what Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Nachmani, the son of Nachmani, which was the Meturgamon, who was a translator, the emanator, whatever it's called, the one that gives over, passes on what the teacher would say. He was a translator of the Shlokish, and he said one thing. He said about that you're not allowed to look at the Nasi, you're not allowed to look at a rainbow, and you're not allowed to look at a rainbow, Nasi, and Kahanim. We brought the thing with the Kahanim, whether today also, we brought the Tosis, whether today you're allowed to look at Kahanim or not, and the answer was not because of Hesach Hadassah, because you might get distracted. So the same Ibn Machmeni had another thing he said, and that's what we're holding. It's about 10 lines from the Mishnah, right above the words Masnisin, 10 lines up. Dosh Abid ben Machmeni. Abid ben Machmeni Gedashin. Adrash. What's Adrash? Adrash is that you take a pasuk and you don't translate it in literal sense, but you make a pirush out of it, a nice dosh out of it. So Dosh Abid ben Machmeni. Meturgamon the Shlokish. Ma'idachsiv. It says in pasuk. And this pasuk is in, I believe in Micha, right? The pasuk is Micha. What does the pasuk say? Al taminu be'rei. Do not believe a friend. Al tiftachu ba'aluf. Aluf is even a closer friend. The Taich. Talagam Taich is there someone that's very close. Do not trust someone that's very, very close. The pasuk finishes off that even to your own wife, don't tell her everything. Which is your wife, watch what you say to her, because if you speak, she might pass it on to someone else. That is the literal sense, the literal taich of the pasuk. So he dashed it different. He dashed it up with the Eibishter, the relationship of the Eibishter and Yidden, and where the Yetzer Hara gets involved or not. What does it say? Do not believe a friend. Do not trust even closer friend. If the Yetzer Hara will tell you, Chatoi, make an Aveda, and trust the Eibishter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter is going to forgive you. Al Tamin, do not trust him. So Al Taminu Berei, we're going to read, not because this pasuk says Deyai, and Deyai is spelled Reish Yud Aleph, and here in this pasuk Deyai is spelled only without the Yud. So therefore the Drash can be Al Taminu Berei, do not trust someone that is, or do not believe someone that is evil. And who is now? Who's considered evil? Who's called evil? Let's say it's all. Z.א-т, Al Tamin Berei, do not trust someone that's evil. Ve'en Rai Yetzer Hara, that is considered Yetzer Hara. Shenema ki Yetzer Lev Adam Ra. The Yetzer Hara, it sits in the heart, on the left side of the heart of a person, and it's Laminu, it's evil from the get-go, from the beginning. So the pasuk reads, Al Taminu Berei, do not believe the Yetzer Hara. And Al Tiftach Bov, do not believe what he says, that if you make an Aveda, the Eibishter is going to forgive you. Do not trust it. Al Tiftach Bov, do not trust that the Eibishter is going to forgive you, because the Eibishter is not. Even if you make tshuva, it's not going to help, because you went to do the Aveda in that mindset that I'm going to do the Aveda, the Eibishter is going to forgive me. And that doesn't work. Ve'en aluf el HaKadosh Baruch Hu, aluf means Eibishter. Shnema aluf nu ato. You are the aluf, we said, was taich very close, closer than a friend. And so this is the Eibishter is close with him, with the persons from very, very early on. Shema toimal. Now, if you do an Aveda b'seis, if you go and do an Aveda in hidden, and the Eibishter, the Yetzer Hara convinces you do an Aveda hiding, no one's going to know about it. Do it. Shema toimal mi meid bi. Who is going to say? Who is going to testify against me that I did this Aveda in hiding? Who's going to know? Avne beisoy v'koyres beis shel adam minim. Because even if the Eibishter knows, and the Eibishter is the judge, but the halacha is that you have to have Eidim, you have to have witnesses to tell the judge that this is what happened. So even though the Eibishter sees everything, but even though Ein L'Dayin Mashayin is that the dying, he only can judge according to what he sees, but the dying cannot be, the one says somewhere else, a witness cannot be a dying. So the same thing also, a dying cannot be a witness. So therefore, the Eibishter cannot be the witness in the case where he's the judge. So therefore we need someone else as a witness. So who is going to be the witness? the stones and the beams of the house are the ones that are going to be the witness against the person who made the Aveda b'seisa in hiding. Shenema ki even v'kiyotizak, a stone will scream from the wall. The chafis me'etz aneno, and a beam from wood will answer. And that basically the dash is that they will tell the Eibishter of the Avedas that a person did in hiding under his roof and his walls. The Chachamim say nishmasa shel adam midabai, that the neshama of the person is the witness. Shenema mishecheves chakecha tishma pischei picha, from whoever rests in your lap, you should watch what you say. What rests in the lap of a person? What's inside a person? This is the neshama, and the neshama will go and will tell the Eibishter of everything you did. Every person always has two malachim that walk with him, and I guess Shabbos we have additional malachim. He will send his malachim, two malachim, to watch over you wherever you go. So wherever Yid goes, wherever he turns, the entire time a Yid has two malachim that are watching over him. And these two malachim also see all the avedas that he makes. And they will go up to the Eibishter and say eidos and testify against him if he did an aveda in hiding. That the limbs of a person will be the witness. The pasuk speaks over there about the end of days, and it speaks about the creation of the Yidden, the whole chapter in there, and in the middle it says that you, the Yidden, yourself will be the witness, which means it means that any limb that you made an aveda with, that limb will come and testify for the Eibishter. Like the Eibishter said, you will be the witness. They will come testify to the Eibishter that the person did an aveda with this limb. Okay, so that's the end of this. We finished the entire Gemara from one Mishnah, which was quite a ride, a couple of pages. Now we're going to go back to the original Chagiga speaks about the kabbanas, the kabban Chagiga, the different kabbanas that we bring on Yontif or on Chol Hamoed. And the Mishnah is going to go on to discuss, the next page is going to discuss the concept of smicha, of leaning on an animal. When you bring an animal to the Beis Hamikdash, you have to do smicha. The Gemara is going to say that smicha is b'chol koich. Smicha is leaning on the head of the animal. You put v'samach yodav, you put two hands on the head of the animal, and you have to push it down with all your might. Put the animal down. That's what the pasuk says. V'samach yodav, and it means pushing down with all your might. Now, the machlokes that the Mishnah is going to bring is whether such an avodah, such a work, is it a labor? We learned in Moed Katan, we learned that any difficult labor is not allowed to, you're not allowed to do difficult labor on Chol Hamoed or on Yontif. So the Mishnah is going to discuss whether this smicha is considered a difficult labor or not. It's also going to discuss it from a different angle. Maybe it's not a difficult labor, but it looks like a difficult labor. And we know that we have in halachas we have the things that the Torah told us is also like the lamates malachas. It's 39 malachas, the things they know how to do. And the 39 gets split into sub halachas, which are called the toldas. And then we have something called a shvus, that the thing itself may be okay, mitzvah Torah. But the Chacham said there's a concept of resting a Shabbos and a Yom Tov, and I don't want you to break that mitzvah of resting shvus, of Shabbos resting, and therefore I'm not going to allow you to do certain things. For example, telling a guy to do an aveda is considered a shvus. Telling the guy to turn on the light is considered a shvus. Some say that even turning on a light or turning on the air conditioner today is not really a malacha itself. It's also a shvus because of tahad.
This is part of the korban. I mean, the korban is also hard work. You'll have
Right.
to chef, you'll have to everything.
Right. 1 second. So telling a guy to do a malacha that is only awesome in the bottom, just finish that thought, is considered a shvus to shvus. It's a double shvus, and we say in a makkah mitzvah you're allowed to do that. Now, if it's only a shvus, if it's only something that the Chacham did not allow you to do, even makkah mitzvah, it's not such a simple thing to do. Yes, smicha is part of the kol because it says in the pasuk says v'daber Hashem Moshe leimal, daber b'nei Yisrael, in the pasuk of Vayikra, and then after a few psukim later it says v'samach yodav, that's part of the korban. So no one argues that you have to have a korban. The question is whether in Yontif you're allowed to do that, because in Yontif we have a different issur. In Yontif we have an issur whether that we have to be Shabbos, we have to rest. So do we say that it's considered such a labor and it looks like doing labor and therefore you're not allowed to do it according to Rabbanan, or no, it's a mitzvah and you have to do it? So that's the machlokes. That's what the Mishnah is going to have the machlokes. And the Mishnah is going to bring down 5 couples. In Pirkei Avos, in the first Perek, we have from Mishnah Dalet, it starts the zugos, we call them zugos, the couples. And the Mishnah is going to bring in a very interesting order. It's going to bring down the couples. The Gemara is going to discuss a little bit who was the Nasi, who was the Av Bezdin, and then the Gemara is going to discuss a little bit more about Smicha. Zak the Mishnah. Yosef ben Yezer says, Sheloi lismoich, that do not do Smicha on when you bring your Korban on Yontav. Yosef ben Yechon Ama lismoich. And that's the first couple that's actually mentioned in Pirkei Avos. Yeshua ben Brachi Oimer, the next couple is brought in Pirkei Avos. Yeshua ben Brachi Oimer, Sheloi lismoich. Nita Abeinu Oimer, lismoich. Nita says yes, you can do Smicha. Yudah ben Taba Oimer, Sheloi lismoich. Shimon ben Shatach Oimer, lismoich. Shimon Shmaya Oimer, lismoich. Haftalin Oimer, Sheloi lismoich. Hillel Menachem, in the beginning, Hillel was the Nasi, Menachem was the Av Bezdin, and Noilech, they did not have Machlokes. Yotze Menachem had to leave. The Gemara is going to say 2 opinions why he had to leave. Nichna Shammai went instead and became the Av Bezdin instead of Menachem. Shammai Oimer Sheloi Lismoich. Now, should Shammai came in? Oh, we have Machlokes. Shammai says Sheloi Lismoich. Hillel said yes, Lismoich. So the Gemara finishes off. Harishonim Hayu Nasim. It's missing. The first Ushnim Lahem Av Bezdin. The first ones mentioned are considered Nasim, and the second ones mentioned is Av Bezdin. So Yosef ben Yezer, Yeshua ben Plachia, Yehuda ben Tabai, Shmaya, and Hillel ben Nasim, and the other ones all Av Bezdin. Just to point out a very interesting Rashi here, the first Rashi in the Mishnah over here. What does Rashi say? Rashi says, Yosef ben Yezer Oimer Sheloi Lismoich Dunato Smicha B'Yontiv. Says Rashi a very interesting thing. V'zuhi machloikas rishoyna shehoyse b'chacham Yisrael. This is the first, I guess, recorded, the first machlokes recorded. The Rashi is Ruach HaKodesh. This is the first ever machlokes that they had, whether to do smicha or not to do smicha. And again, like I said, the Gemara is going to later on establish that the machlokes isn't whether smicha is an inyan in Yontav or not. Everyone agrees that even in Yontav you have the smicha. The question is whether it's considered a shavus and you can't do it, or not considered a shavus. Whether it's considered looks like labor or it doesn't look like labor. That was the whether you do smicha or not. But that's what
who does it?
The person that brings it. The person brings it.
Yisrael does it.
So basically, forgetting from Moshe Rabbeinu at this point, they forgot what the
so
Tzadin is. And now
it
they're
seems
trying to
like
flesh it out.
until then, there are Pasha no argument. And this was the argument, the first argument. Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. So Tosfos doesn't like this. It says, Tosfos agrees with it at the end, but Tosfos says we see that in times of Shaul and David, they had an argument about something.
And they were before the Gemara?
Yeah, sure.
Shaul and David was before, that was right in the time of, even before the Beis Hamikdash. David was before the Beis Hamikdash, this was after already. So Tosfos, Yosef ben Yezer, but Shalmi says, "B'rishoyne lo machloikes el al smicha b'vad." And Shalmi adds that in the beginning, the only machloikes, the first and only machloikes that they ever had with each other, was about smicha. V'omdu shama v'hilal. So basically, it was Yosef ben Yezer, Yosef ben Yochanan, Yeshua ben Plachia, Nita Abeli, Yehuda ben Tabai, Shimon ben Shatach, and Shmaya ben Talon. So 4 of them had an argument. And then that was the only machloikes. So everything else, everyone agreed when it comes to smicha and yantav, machlokes. Okay? V'amdu Shammai v'Hillel, Shammai v'Hillel, when they became Nasi and Av Bezdin, v'asu Dalet, and they have now 4 machlokes. And the Gemara in Shabbos enumerates what the 4 are. Mashal right away asks it's not 4, but they had said, Tosfos just says it's not 4, it's only 3. Whatever, that's a different thing. But according to the Shalmi, until then we had 1 machlokes. And Shammai and Hillel, they went and made more machlokes out of it. When it came to Talmidei, the students of Shammai and Hillel, they did not serve their master, the teacher, the way it's supposed to be. So they did not learn properly, apparently. Now it became more machlekes. What did Shammai say? What did Hillel say? And now they argued with each other. Shammai and Hillel didn't have any machlekes. They only had 4 machlekes, and Beis Shammai still had more. And since then, everything split. That's the beginning. Then the Gemara asks about David and Shaul, and the Tosfos asks about David and Shaul. That machlekes. Then the Tosfos answers that the answer that basically, although there was a machlekes, and when it came to Poel Mab, machlekes was of the opinion of what to do. And it wasn't like one group did like this, one group did like that. They ended up coming to a conclusion that it's according to one, or they went according to Lev, they went according to the majority, and that's what both agreed then, that this is the halacha. From here, it was a hit on the head, and it was never decided with a decision that stayed whether to do smicha or not. Some people did, some people decided not to. That was the machlekes. So basically, this is the first machlekes. From then on, we have a whole Gemara from then on. Okay. So now, what does the Gemara say? The Mishnah finished off and saying the first ones were all Nesim, and the last ones were all the second ones mentioned were all Av Bezdin. Tana Abanim. Shloisha mizugas harishonim sha'amu shalismoich, v'shnayim mizugas ha'achroim sha'amu lismoich, harishonim Nesim, v'shnayim la'avos. Very simple. They're considered the first 3 and the second 2. We mentioned 5 couples, first 3 and second 2. Why is it dividing in that? I saw somewhere, I don't remember what it said, what the division was that Shmaya and Naphtali and Hillel and Shammai considered the later ones. Probably if you look in the chronological order, you'll see there's a timing thing. But the first person mentioned of the first 3 and the second person mentioned of the first 3 and basically the first one was the Nesim and the Shnei Avos Diva Meir. So Stam Mishnah is Lameir. Lameir Taka says in his Baisa that the first ones were Nesim, the second one are the word Av Bezdin. I'm going to switch one of them around, even though Yehuda ben Tameh is mentioned before Shimon ben Shattach, but I will tell you that Yehuda ben Tameh was an Av Bezdin, and Shimon ben Shattach was a Nasi. Okay? A machlekes in a fact. And the Gemara is going to question this fact, that it doesn't work out according to what or the Chacham say, that Shimon ben Shattach was the Nasi. It doesn't work out. So the Gemara is going to go through a different thing, and then it's going to come back to the question. Man Tanad lahu, who is the Tanad that taught us this halacha? The Tanad Rabbana. Amar Rabbi Levi Tameh said, Er ben Chama, or the Lashon, this is the Gemara we had in Makkos. Loya ben Chama, correct? Yeah, you learned Makkos, so this is the beginning of Makkos. Rabbi Levi Tameh said, Loya ben Chama, I should not see the consolation of the Yidden, meaning the full glory of the Yidden being returned. Rabbi Levi Tameh was in the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. They had a Beis Hamikdash. They had the second Beis Hamikdash in its full glory. It was a beautiful Beis Hamikdash, but as known, the second Beis Hamikdash was missing 8 things. There was no union of Malchus Beis David. Was the main thing, and then 8 things were missing from the second Beis Hamikdash. So Rabbi Levi Tameh said that I will not see the full consolation of the Yidden if I did not kill an Eid Zoymim. Basically saying, I did kill an Eid Zoymim. There was a case. 2 Eidim came and said witness about someone else. Another 2 Eidim came and said, how can you say that? Imano Yisam with me. And it was a case of about they would have killed that first person, and they didn't kill him. And the tables flipped. So the second Eidim, they're not called Eidim Zoymim. They got Misa. They were killed. And that's what does the Gemara say there? It talks about 1 Eid, right? Or 2 Eidim?
No, it's 2 Eidim.
2 Eidim. Okay. So, what? Right. The reason he did that is that Tzedakkim, they learned that because it has to be nefesh tachas nefesh, it has to be vasisel, even though it says vasisel mekasha zamam, but because it's nefesh tachas nefesh, you have to always take a soul for a soul. Therefore, they said that the only time you'll kill the Eidim Zayim if the other person was killed, then you can apply that same punishment to this person. So in order to take that away, so Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai said, it happened once, and I made sure to kill this Eid Zayim. I made sure to kill this Eidim Zayim. So B'Shem Mashatach turned to him and said, there's so many halachas before you get to kill an Eid Zoyimim, there's so many halachas you have to know that it could very possibly be that you killed someone innocently. So what did B'Shem Mashatach say? He flipped the same thing. I will not see the consolation of the Yidden if you didn't spill innocent blood. Said both have to be both have to be their edus has to be taken apart. They only get malchus if both become innocent. Basically, he says there's so many more halachas, and it's very possible that you killed someone innocently. So right away, miyad kibul olav Yehuda ben Tabai he right away accepted upon himself that he will never say halacha in front of Reb Shimon Mashatach. Now the Gemara continues the story. The entire life of Yehuda ben Tabai, he would then later on go and he would spend time in the cave of that person or the people that he killed, the Eid that he killed, and he cried, tried to make tshuva. And they heard a voice of the Yehuda ben Tabai. His voice was heard. People heard someone cry. People thought that it was the guy that was killed. It's my voice. I'm crying. That's why you hear it. Teidu, proof for this is tomorrow I will die. And you won't hear a voice anymore. So basically, this is the story. Yehuda said, I killed someone. B'Shem Tabai said, you probably killed him innocently. And therefore, Yehuda started making tshuva. Yehuda accepted himself to never ever do any rulings unless it's in front of B'Shem Mashatach. Then he started trying to make tshuva, and they heard a voice, and people thought it was the guy that was killed, and they said no, it was actually Yehuda ben Tabai's voice.
He didn't challenge it?
No,
No, he did.
The Gemara Makkah continues to challenge the B'Shem Mashatach's ruling.
No, he challenged the proof.
Oh,
Believed him.
the proof was challenged, but the B'Shem Mashatach didn't challenge. No.
Ah.
Yeah. The proof to say that it's his voice, someone said there is no. It could be his voice, but you say that the proof would be because if I die, you won't hear a voice. Lav dafka. What could happen? Rabbi Ami says, that's very simple. Maybe after the Yehuda ben Tabai passes away, the neshama that was killed was either consoled by the Yehuda ben Tabai. The Yehuda ben Tabai met him up there in Shemaim and asked him forgiveness, and the guy did, and that's why he didn't have a voice anymore. Or the neshama that was killed took him to the Eibishter, to the court. Now he's a Lamai, the Yehuda ben Tabai is a Lamai. Let me take him. He's in Shemaim. Let me take him to court, and that's why he was settled. So it's not proof to say that because the Yehuda ben Tabai died, the voice that's not heard is because that's the Yehuda ben Tabai's voice. That's a side. Here, basically, the question is going through here. We see that Yehuda ben Tabai decided, I will never ever rule any halacha unless it's in front of B'Shem Mashatach. Now we know that a nasi has the ultimate power. A nasi has the ultimate power. The Av Bezdin is lesser power than a nasi. An Av Bezdin is not allowed to rule halacha in front of a nasi, but a nasi is allowed to rule halacha in front of Av Bezdin. So now, if Yehuda ben Tabai was the Av Bezdin, how did he even rule halacha in front of B'Shem Mashatach? He says, I will never rule halacha in front of unless it's in front of B'Shem Mashatach. How could he even, to begin with, if B'Shem Mashatach is the nasi, like the Chum tried to say, how could he have ruled? So Muzman Zagner, we have to say that the B'Shem Mashatach is the Av Bezdin, and Yehuda ben Tabai is the nasi. And therefore, Yehuda ben Tabai said, I was able to rule in front of even though B'Shem Mashatach was there. But now, because I made a mistake, I decided on my own, I will never do that again. That's the proof the Gemara wants to bring. So, Mani, who does this whole story go according to? Is it a male that said B'Shem Mashatach was the Av Bezdin, or is it the Cham that said B'Shem Mashatach was the Nasi? If you say a male, that is according to a male, the B'Shem Mashatach is Av Bezdin. So now Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai and Rabbi ben Tabai is Nasi. That's why Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai was allowed to make a halacha, to rule a halacha in front of B'Shem Mashatach, because a Nasi is allowed to rule a halacha in front of Av Bezdin, and therefore later on decided not to do it anymore. If you say that it goes according to the Rabbanan, the Amr Yehuda ben Tabai was Av Bezdin, Shimon Shatach was the Nasi, Av Bezdin, b'fnei Nasi, mimoyer halacha. Can Av Bezdin rule a halacha, a ruling in front of a Nasi? How could Yehuda ben Tabai have done that? To begin with, he should have not done that. So therefore, the proof is according to the Meir, that in the Mishnah, all the first ones are going to be a Nasi, and the last ones are going to be Av Bezdin. The Gemara rejects that and says, "Loy, it's not proof." My Kabbalah, the Ka'amal, when Rabbi ben Tabai said that, the Gemara says he can say that Rabbi ben Tabai was Taka the Av Bezdin. So how could he have ruled a ruling in front of Shimon Shatach that was a Nasi? So the Gemara's going to answer a simple thing. First of all, it could be Shimon Shatach wasn't around. An Av Bezdin is an Av Bezdin. He's the head of the court. So he ruled the halacha. And later on, when he found that he did wrong, he says, you know what? From now on, whatever I have a ruling, a question, I'm going to hear out of Shimon Shatach's opinion first. And I will never join to object to Shimon Shatach. I will never join the majority or to make a majority to object to Shimon Shatach. That's what he meant. But no, the B'nai Tabai was Taka Av Bezdin. My Kibbutz of the Gamal, it's still Rufin to join the people that are going to reject the Shimon Shatach's opinion. I wouldn't even join the party that tries to reject the Shimon Shatach's opinion. So there's no proof. It's a nice story, and we don't know proof at the end. Meir says the Shimon Shatach was the Av Bezdin, and the B'nai Tabai was the Nasi, and Acham said the opposite in that sense. So, Kasha Famaisa. All right. Sagt die Gemara weiter.
So who told him he was wrong?
No, it's machlekes. The Gemara wanted to bring proof from the story, saying that a Meir is right and a Chama wrong, and the Gemara says, "Lav dafke." No, it's not good proof, because we can teach the story in a different way. Follow? Huh?
I follow, I just don't get why the Av Bezdin's rule is overruled, even though he's the head of the court. I mean, certainly he is like the mumka with regards to all the halachas.
Right.
So what gives the Nasi the right to say that the Av Bezdin is wrong? In other words,
Yes.
what was their difference in opinion that made him say that?
So, like I said, the Nasi is greater. I think there was a story. The story was many. The story is one of the Nasim and the Av Bezdin Amachlekas about what was it, Shabbat in Kippur or something, and they made him come to his house carrying a bag. They had Amachlekas with Kiddush HaChodesh, I think that, and they decided there was that Amachlekas whether when in Kippur's. And the Nasi ruled one way, and the Nasi made the Av Bezdin come with his bag of money on his day of Yom Kippur, on the stick, on his day of Yom Kippur. Why? Because the Nasi, the prince, had the ultimate power to rule. And the Av Bezdin, yes, he is the Av Bezdin, and in some places the Av Bezdin is almost tight like he's the vice Nasi. It's called Av Bezdin, but it's really his position was the second Dizgan of the Nasi.
The Nasi was a massive Talmud Chacham.
And not to say the Nasi was a huge Talmud Chacham. As you see that Hillel and Shammai, these people are huge Talmud Chacham. Maybe even greater sometimes than the what's it called. But the halacha was the Nasi, huh?
Law and order.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if the Nasi decided one way, the Av Bezdin had to follow, and therefore the Av Bezdin cannot rule something in front of the Nasi. So if you say that Yehuda ben Tabai was the Av Bezdin, how could he have ruled to kill a Zoimim in front of Shimon Shatach when Shimon Shatach said we can't kill him? So we must say that Shimon Shatach is the Av Bezdin, the Yehuda Nasi is the Nasi, and therefore Yehuda ben Tabai is the Nasi, and therefore he was able to rule. But the Gemara rejects it and says no, maybe Yehuda ben Tabai was able to rule because the Nasi wasn't there. The only time you're not allowed to rule in front of a Nasi or in front of your teacher is if he's there. But if he's not there, then he's a second in command. He can do ruling, and he wasn't there. And he said later on, I will accept it even when I'm not there. I will not make a psak unless I have I hear Shimon ben Shatach's opinion first. Okay. So the Gemara. We said that the last of the five was Hillel and Shammai, but first it was Hillel and Menachem, and they did not have machlokas. And then Menachem had to leave somewhere, and Shammai came instead, and they have Machlokas. So where did Menachem go to? Leichen Yatsa. Yatsa Menachem and Nichel Shammai. Leichen Yatsa, where did Menachem go to? Abaya Amma Yatsa Tabba. So Abaya says he went off the way. Rava says Yatsa Lavoida Samelech. He went out to serve the king.
Is a servant.
Yeah, we'll serve it. Some the Tosfos, we're not going to learn this, but the Tosfos and Av Bezdin, he brings proof according to both. So we actually don't know who was the Nasi, who was the Av Bezdin. Yudim B'Tabashim B'Shatach, and it says they bring a story from Alexandria that they wrote a paper to the Shalayim because they were holding there's a proof that the Taba was the Nasi, and there's another proof in a different Gemara that Shimon Shatach was the Nasi. So what happened there? I don't know. Who was the Nasi actually? It's a Machlokas.
So with regard to the king who, so then it goes King Nasi, then Av Beis Din?
King Nasi, yeah. I mean the Sim were technically instead of the king. The Sim were like the father, instead of the king. Most of the times they were attacking from Malchus they were attacking from David's lineage, King David's lineage. Anyway, so where did Menachem go to? So the Bible says he went off the way. He went to serve the king. Menachem went out to serve the king. 80 couples of Talmidim left with him. Levush in Silk, and they were dressed in royal robes, in silky royal robes, to serve the king. So okay, this is what it is. Amar Rab Shimon ben Abba, Amar Reb Yochanan, Le'olam al tehshvus kala beinecha. You should never consider a shvus, which said in the beginning is the halacha that Rabbanan said you cannot do on Shabbos Yontif because it's against resting. Shabbos Yontif you have the mitzvah of resting, and Rabbanan said that doing this will cause you not to rest. For example, riding an animal. And the Shaman Abba said, never look at a shvus that it's something kal, it's an easy thing. The whole reason why the machloikas in our Mishnah was whether you're allowed to do smicha or not is because that machloikas whether it's considered a shvus or not. And it was and the biggest Talmid Chacham, the Nasi and the Av Bezdin had an argument back and forth over generations about a shvus. Basically, this teaches you how great a shvus is, and never look down on a shvus. Never look down on a mitzvah with the Rabbanan. What's the story? The story is like an animal. It doesn't say in the Torah that you can't ride that you're not allowed to ride an animal on Shabbos Yontif. But they said if you ride an animal on Shabbos Yontif, it may cause you to do more things, and therefore the Chum said you can't ride the animal.
To take off a branch.
So that's a shvus. Riding the animal is a shvus. Riding an animal will cause you not to rest on Shabbos Yontif. So riding the animal is considered a shvus. So,
what about a scooter?
so the scooter is a different thing. The scooter is a different thing. Shvus is not only when the Chum said that you're resting. Shvus can also be something that looks like doing labor. If you're doing something that looks like doing labor, or if you're doing something that's called uvdin dechoil, if you do something that is something you would do in the week, riding scooters in the street, biking on the street, whatever, there could be that the question. It's an issue because it's a shvus of the Rabbanan, because they said that it might look like labor, or it might look like something you do in the week. So smicha, we're going to say smicha is b'chol koicha. Smicha is full force. That's considered labor. It's considered you're not resting on Shabbos. So the machloikas in our Mishnah with the Zugas was whether you're allowed to do smicha, whether this is a shvus or not. Okay, says the Gemara. Smicha in shvus v'nechel b'gedel pshita. Gemara asks a question. Pashta zach. If the Chacham said that smicha is considered shvus because it's either difficult labor or it basically not resting, or it looks like an avodah, it looks like something you're doing during the week, then for sure, if that's your opinion, then it shouldn't be kala benecha. You should not consider it as something. It's nothing, because it's a shvus. So what's the chiddush? What is he saying here? That never have alti shvus kala benecha. Zag the Gemara zeh pshita. And for the Gemara, shvus mitzvah, it's the chay. We're talking about a shvus of a mitzvah, like in our case. We're talking about doing smicha on a carbon, which is a mitzvah. And even if it's a mitzvah, here we would have thought maybe allow it. So the Gemara says, the Gemara tells you that even by shvus mitzvah, you have to consider what the Chum say. And even then, when it's a mitzvah, alti kala benecha, that it should not be considered something nothing. It shouldn't be considered nothing in your eyes, even though it's for a mitzvah. Shvus mitzvah is alright. Shvus mitzvah, we also know that if there's a mitzvah and the Chum said you can't do mitzvah shvus, you're not allowed to do it. And for the Gemara, this is coming to the reason he's saying the alti shvus kala be'enecha, that he should not consider a shvus as nothing, even though we're talking about a shvus of a mitzvah, because he wants to teach us something else. There's in a different Gemara, there's a machlokes, whether the machlokes of the Chachamim here is whether you should do smicha or not. This Gemara is coming to tell that everyone agrees you have to do smicha on Yom Tov. The only reason we can't do smicha is because the Rabbanan have an issue with shvus. But the smicha itself, everyone agrees that the Torah says you have to do smicha. In a different place, they say the machlokes is, some guy says on Yom Tov there is no smicha, and some guy says in Yom Tov there is smicha. Machlokes here is not in there. So that's what the Gemara is trying to teach you. The machlokes here, everyone agrees you have to do smicha. The machlokes is only if it's considered shvus, and now you can't do smicha, even though you have to. That they have machlokes in smicha itself. The machlokes is whether the smicha is a shvus, and therefore you can't do it, but you still have to. And this is the machlokes. Now Mishnah, they say that doing smicha is necessary, but the Chacham say you have to rest on Shabbos, and anything that doesn't look like resting is considered an avela. Therefore you can't do it. The Gemara is now going to say a very interesting thing. I'm almost going to finish with that. Amar Rabbi Bachon. Shma mina. We learn from here smicha bechol koichai, that doing smicha you have to do with all your koich. The Yisal Kadavin, you have to do with entire might, not entire strength. The Yisal Kadavin, that smicha, leaning on the animal, is not with all your strength. My kav, what's the big deal? Lismach. Just put your hands on top. So for the Malaya, is that smicha is with full strength, because then I got a problem. Putting your hands fully on the animal with all your might and all your strength may look like an avodah, may look like you're working on Shabbos. And now the Chacham said you can't do that. You can't. No, someone from outside cannot look at you and think, oh, you're doing an avodah. Maybe you're leaning the animal down to do something else. Basically, from here is proof that smicha is with your full strength. Meisvei Fredrik Malakasha. It says in Pasuk in Vayikra, right away in the beginning of Vayikra, then the Pasuk in 3 Psukim later says, V'samach Yodai. What does the Torah learn? It says, B'nei Yisrael. B'nei Yisrael Semchim and B'nei Yisrael Semchis. That only the males do smicha, but not the females. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shmuel Oimrim, Rabbi Yossi said, no, B'nei Yisrael Semchis, Rishus. They could do smicha. The first pasuk says that the Bnei Yisrael are the ones that are allowed to do smicha. Bnei Yisrael are not allowed to do smicha. Rabbi Yossi Shmuel says, no, it's not to tell you that the Bnei Yisrael, that the girls, the women are not allowed to do smicha, but it's not. There's no mitzvah for them to do smicha. Bnei Yisrael Semchis Rishus. Amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said a story. Sachli Abba Elazar. Rabbi Elazar told them a story from the Beis Hamikdash. Pam achas hoydon egel shal zivchei shlamim. We had a calf of a shlamim. We brought him into Ezas Nashim, and the woman put their hands on the Zivcha Shlamim. They did smicha. Not because there's a mitzvah of smicha b'nashim. That's what Abba Shaul said. To make the woman feel good. That's why they brought the animal into Ezas Nashim, that they should do smicha just for good feeling. So basically, this is now proof that smicha is not b'chol koichem. Why? Because we're talking about an animal. The guy says that this animal is kodesh. It's a holy animal. Okay, now once the animal becomes holy, the only thing you're allowed to do with this animal is bring it to the mizbeach. Anything that's needed along, you can do. Smicha, whatever you need to do along. but thinks to feel good, that's not part of the korban. You're basically using a davar shebekdusha, an animal that's holy now, to make you feel good. How were you able to do that? So basically, if you say smicha is b'chol koichai, to do an avoida, within smicha is a real avoida, it's real working, it's laborious, because you have to push the head down with all your might. And the woman also did that, because the woman in the story did that. So basically, you're telling me that the woman did a certain avoida on the animal, on an animal that is kosher, that is holy, even though that you're not to play around with kadashim. You only did it to feel good. Doesn't make sense.
What does the smicha accomplish?
That's what it is.
That's what Pasuk says. That I think the avodah, he pushed it basically down and puts all the avodas down. I don't know. But the Pasuk says with Samachid you have to the Chaba, that all the avodas you somehow whatever you
Transfer it to them.
yeah. I don't know if that's what it means. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have enough time to look at, but basically smicha is an important integral part of each korban. Every korban requires smicha. Certain korbanos don't. The Gemara is going to deduce that certain korbanos, not here, different korbanos, they learn that certain korbanos don't, but a bird doesn't have smicha. You squash it. But a korban doesn't have smicha. But every animal korban has to have smicha. And basically, the Gemara here asks a question. If you say smicha is b'chol koicha, the woman did smicha as well, to feel good, that's making a voida with kadashim to feel good. Can't do that. V'izal kadai smicha b'chol koicha v'inan is mishum nachas ruach the noshim of dina voida b'kadashim. In order just to make the woman feel good, you're going to make a voida b'kadashim. And lashma amina loy b'nim b'chol koicha, that you don't have to do with all your might. So that's a question. The Gemara before says the smicha is b'chol koicha, and now we see the smicha is not b'chol koicha. And the Gemara la'olam ein
How
malach,
do we see that? Because the women did it.
because the woman did it.
So it's not, they're not using full strength. They did it with whole koichon, as far as they can.
So the
No, but it's not
Gemara,
the Gemara's reason.
No, but that's their strength.
they're not to do anything.
Oh.
The only
So
thing,
why is the shmaminus leizich?
because if they're allowed to do it, I forgot to say, if they're allowed to do it, what must have happened? It must be that when they came, they just put their hands, made believe. Made believe. So if we say that this was smicha, then smicha is not b'chol koicha. That says, lo elam emelach b'nim b'chol koicha. Novos, the Amrina, when it came to the woman, it said, ak b'yadaycho. Basically, according to the question, if you're doing smicha, if you're doing real smicha, you have to push all the way down. If you're pushing all the way down, it's an avodah. If you're doing avodah with kachim, you got a problem. So it must be that they didn't push all the way down, and that is what it was called smicha. So we will see that not pushing all the way down, just putting your hands on is considered smicha. So the Gemara's answer, no, they did a compromise. They told the woman, put your hands on.
And they did it.
Yeah, it's good for smicha. You know, you want to hear tkir shayfa, you want to eat matzah. But la'ilam. You have to push with all your might. The Aminullah, but he told Abba Shaul and the people in Beis Hamikdash told the woman, "Akpi yadaycho, ease your hands, and don't put it on with all your might." Okay, we're going to finish this next time. We're going to read it.